Hi, my name is Fran. I am 32 and mother to a beautiful 3-year-old girl. I had just started my degree in healthcare when I found out I was expecting a child. It came as the biggest shock. It was unexpected and unplanned. I had to have a planned C-section. This was not the birth that I had wanted, and I was really disappointed that I wouldn't be given birth in the natural way. The cesarean didn't end up being straightforward, and I was in a lot of pain. That first night, I remember being in such a daze of pain and drugs and having this little baby to look after, and I was all alone as partners weren't allowed to stay on the ward. I struggled with breastfeeding from that very first night. These feeding difficulties went on to last for months, and the pressure I put on myself to breastfeed and do things that I believed to be in my baby's best interest led to my own feelings of inadequacy, helplessness, upset and failure. Other people I knew with babies hadn't had these problems, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working for me. I was frequently in tears. I had many visits from midwives, health visitors and breastfeeding support, all trying to help. My baby's weight dropped quite significantly after birth, and I became very worked up about her health and well-being. I began to feel very low at this point, and that these feelings weren't the normal baby blues that you were told to expect, as they weren't going away. My baby was very unsettled and colicky. She was only settled when held or rocked. I became overwhelmed and exhausted. On the occasion she did sleep in her cot, I tried to rest but found it difficult to switch off, and would lie there awake until I knew she would wake again. Sleep became a massive issue, and I became obsessed in trying to establish a pattern of sleep and rest. I began having very vivid dreams that would sometimes involve something bad happening to my baby. This made me very anxious. I felt like there was a big dark cloud following me. I didn't want anyone to know I was feeling this way and put off visitors coming round. I guess I felt embarrassed and ashamed. My relationship with my baby's father sadly broke down 6 weeks after her birth. I was disappointed and felt even more alone. I remember feeling so bleak and couldn't cope with the pressure of a relationship. I clearly didn't have the headspace to be making such drastic decisions, but I felt like I was present in body and not in mind, like I was watching my life being played out, but I had no control over it. I felt in a constant daze. I recall attending mother and baby groups, attempting to interact with other new mums, but my feelings were one of not belonging, that I compared myself to other mums and that I had failed my child somehow with the relationship ending, and that I had no one to blame but myself. These low feelings went on to last for months. I can only describe it as feeling dazed and detached from everything. I didn't really open up to anyone about how I was feeling. All I wanted was a date and time of when this feeling would pass. I didn't want to take medication as it wasn't right for me, but I decided to take up running, knowing that exercise has therapeutic benefits and raises endorphin levels. Gradually in time things began to get easier. My baby began sleeping better, feeding improved, and the dark cloud hovering over me for so long began to shift, and I began to feel more positive. I found it helped by being more honest with myself and accepting that I wasn't feeling right in that time and stopped being in denial. Talking has been incredibly therapeutic, and by opening up and talking to others, I found I wasn't alone and that they too had experienced something I had felt, and that there was no need to be ashamed or embarrassed anymore.